Welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss with your hosts, Teresa Reiniger and Wayna Berry.
Welcome back to Female Voices, Life and Loss. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Wayna.
Join us for each episode as we explore lived stories, offer gentle insight, and hold space for what it means to navigate life after loss. This is a space for women carrying grief, loss, and life transitions, especially the ones held quietly while still showing up for everyday life. This podcast offers language for what you are feeling and guidance for who you are becoming. And now your hosts, Teresa Reiniger and Wayna Berry.
Hello and welcome back to Female Voices, Life and Loss. And I'm Teresa Reiniger. And today I want to talk about something I wish more people understood. Loss doesn't always arrive with the casseroles. Sometimes it arrives very quietly. And because of that, you don't always recognize it as grief. One of the most surprising things I've learned is that women often tell me, I don't think I'm grieving enough to call this grief. And usually they've been carrying enormous loss. I think one of the reasons so many women struggle to recognize grief is because we've intentionally created categories for what counts, in air quotes, as grief, like death counts, the funeral counts. And what about those losses that don't come with the service? What about losses no one checks in on you about? And the losses where life simply keeps moving and everyone expects you to move with it. Those losses often get minimized, and yet they can impact us just as deeply. I sat with women grieving infertility, miscarriages, and babies born still. Women grieving the child they imagined they would have. Women grieving marriages. What about grieving health? Women grieving really their life turning into being caregivers. And women grieving retirement. I don't want to grieve that. It's coming. But what is retirement? We could do a whole episode on that. But what about women grieving relationships with living people? And a version of yourself that you thought would be that you're grieving. Empty nest? Career changes? What about estrangement with a family member or friends? And what I've learned is loss doesn't have to involve death to deserve compassion. Sometimes grief sounds like, I miss who I used to be. Anybody said that before? Sometimes grief can sound like, I thought life would look different. I think everyone has said that at some point, right? Or grief could even sound like, I'm thankful and I'm still sad. And many women carry guilt for feeling or thinking that. One thing I say often to women that are grieving is this. People usually recognize grief emotionally, and they forget grief affects the whole person. It shows up physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally. It shows up everywhere. And because of that, women often come to me saying, I'm exhausted. I can't focus. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm emotional. I feel disconnected. I don't feel like myself. I feel very irritable and I can't remember. The brain fog is all the time. What about I'm sad, but there's no emotion coming out. I feel numb and they think something is wrong because they just don't feel like themselves and something is wrong. Sometimes what happens is not dysfunction. Your body may not be failing. It's really adapting to what's going on. And I would say for me, the most recent loss really that I can think of right now is my health. believing I would be in pain and limited to what I could do for the rest of my life as I aged, because that's just part of aging, right? That's what we're told. I do not grieve that anymore. Yes, there are times that it resurfaces. There's pain, like playing in a volleyball tournament and hurting after, but it's a good feeling when those muscles are being used, right? And there's so much hope now for me. I won't go into my whole health journey and how that shifted for me, but I definitely was grieving that. Maybe I'll talk about that in a future episode. But I hope with where I am in my physical health right now, I have a lot of hope that there doesn't have to be pain. But I was grieving that. I can vividly remember grieving that and crying, being so emotional. It was actually before I went on a family trip to Disney with my family, my grandkids. And I will share that your mind, your body, and your heart really trying to make sense of what's changed, trying to protect you, just trying to help you survive. And when we understand that, we can stop judging ourselves. So I want to invite you into something, not to fix, not to analyze, just to notice. Ask yourself, what change happened, let's say, in my life that I never gave myself permission to grieve? Because with change, there's very much loss and grief. So, what was that change that you didn't give time for? What expectations did you lose? I know I've had lots of expectations in my life, but those things need to be processed. There needs to be healing with that. But what about a version of yourself that maybe you miss, that you wish there would have been? Same with that expectation. Or what are you carrying that you've been minimizing? It's not a big deal. And maybe it is. And maybe the hardest question to ask yourself is, what have I been telling myself I should be over by now? Because society tells us there's a lot of things that we need to get over. And there are things we should, but we need to process that, heal from that, heal the hurt is important. Sometimes simply naming what that loss is, what that change was, it really softens it. Not because the grief disappears and the hurt disappears. It's because now you're no longer carrying it without language. Many women don't give themselves permission to heal. They can say, maybe they say, someone else has it worse. I should be strong. I should be over this. Who has said that? I got my hand raised. But grief isn't measured by comparison. It's measured by meaning. As I've reflected on my own life and really years of podcasting, I realized grief has shown up in places I didn't expect through caregiving, both my mom and my dad, and then their loss, the physical loss of both of my parents, through dreams that changed, through becoming someone new. And what I've learned is this: healing didn't begin when everything felt better. Healing began when I stopped ignoring what had changed, when I stopped saying, this shouldn't affect me. I should be strong. I should be further along. And instead started asking, what do I need? What matters now? Who am I becoming? That shift changed things for me when I took time to sit and let my mind and body become quiet and really feel what has happened that has stirred emotion of any kind. With this comes awareness of so many things, and healing begins there. What I've been carrying quietly, what changed that I haven't allowed myself to grieve? Those would be great questions to really ask yourself. Say that again. What have I been carrying quietly? What changed that I haven't allowed myself to grieve? So if this episode stirred something in you, I want you to know you're not alone. And I also want to invite you into something I created for this season. It's a free resource called Life After Loss, a gentle guide for women finding their way forward. Inside this resource, you'll find reflections, resources, gentle support, and reminders that whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone. You can download it through my website, and we'll have it on Female Voices, all of our socials. Look for it there. And whether you take that step or not, I hope today reminded you your grief doesn't have to be visible to be valid. And your story matters. Even if you're still living in it, you don't have to justify your grief. You only have to honor it. And maybe this is your permission to begin. I am honored that you joined me today. As you move through your days, may you feel held, supported, and not so alone, and reminded that even in the hardest moments, there is still space for healing, hope, and life after loss. I'm honored to walk this journey with you. And we'll see you next time on Female Voices, Life and Loss with Teresa Reiniger and Marina Beer.
Thanks for listening to Female Voices, Life and Loss. If this episode resonated with you, helped you feel seen, or gave language to something you've been carrying, we invite you to share it with someone who may need it. Be sure to follow the show so you don't miss future episodes and the powerful voices still to come.